Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Revit and Navisworks. We're really going to get into Navisworks and show the real difference between Revit and Navisworks. Basically, Revit is more of a design and really a data entry tool if you think about it that way. And Navisworks is kind of like Microsoft Access for buildings. And so you can basically take the model of your building from Revit and you can export it into Navisworks and then derive the information from it. So when you really get into construction management work, the best thing to do is to load your model up with as much information as you can so then you can derive it from Navisworks. So in order to do this, we're going to go ahead and export this model. It should be called Module 5, I believe. I send it to you. This model into Navisworks. Now, one thing you're going to want to think about closely when you're exporting to Navisworks is that everything that's included in your drawing, that's included in your view right here, will be exported to Navisworks. However, if something is missing, say for example, we were to highlight these walls over here, and we're going to go ahead and hide them. If we were to export it like that, this is the only thing that will come up within Navisworks. So we don't want to do that. We want to export the entire building. So make sure whenever you're exporting in Navisworks, you have the entire building ready to go. So what we'll do, we'll go up here to the little R in the top left corner. And excuse me if I go a little quickly today, as I've transitioned to making these from in-person lectures to online. I assume that you'll be able to pause the video and then rewind if you need to. So I'm going to try to go a little quickly. We go to export down here, and then we go to NWC, which is a Navisworks NWC file. And as you see, I have a few already. I'll just make a new one, Module 5 file. I'll replace that. And up here, it should be exporting to Navisworks. It might take a little bit to do that. So while we're waiting here, I'll tell you a little bit about Navisworks. What we're going to be doing today specifically, it's already done, is showing you how to do a 4D simulation based off of your model. And we're going to base that off of a schedule that I sent you in Excel. And I'll bring that up here as well. In fact, let me bring the Excel spreadsheet up while we're waiting. Right now. Alright, if we have schedule 1, we need schedule 2 as well. So we can go back to Navisworks, and when you go into Navisworks, you have a couple different ways of importing data. Here are your two schedules. We'll use those in just a little bit. When you go into Navisworks, you have a couple different ways of entering in data. When we go to enter in our model, we're going to want to go to the append tool, which is right up here on the top left corner. It looks like a little page with a plus sign on it. We'll hit that. We'll go to NWC files. I had done this previously. That's what that was. We'll go to Module 3 files. This is the most recent point. So we'll go ahead and load that into the Navisworks. And as you can see, this is the exact same model that we just had in Revit. Over here is your timeliner tool, and here are your sets. And so let me go ahead and hide that timeliner tool. And so we have a little bit more space to work with. Over here, you'll have your selection tree. This is your entirety of your model, the Module 5 file in WC. And if you hit here on the little plus, it should break it down by level. And so one really cool thing about Navisworks is that when you go to do 4D scheduling, what you do is you match these sets over here to an item in your schedule. And then based off of that, you can run the timeliner to show you how the building would be actually built. And so to illustrate that, we're not going to do the entire building because doing the entire building would be very tedious to select everything. And it's really a day-long job or a couple days-long job, depending on how big the building is and how many people are working on it. So we'll just go to these columns, these round columns, and these are your level 1 columns. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit here, hold down Shift, and then select all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to go right here to hide unselected, and this will hide all the columns that This will hide everything but the columns we have selected here, as you can see. And so what we're going to do with that is go ahead and make a set based off of it. And we're going to go here to Save Selection. And this is a selection set, so we'll call these first floor columns. And to illustrate the idea of sets, we're going to go ahead and unhide all. And then we're going to select this set, first floor columns, and hide unselected. So as you see, this is the selection set. And it'll always stay the selection set, and we can assign that to different things in Navisworks. Now what we're going to go ahead and do, selecting your different components in your building is one way of selecting and making sets with a building. However, as you move forward with Navisworks, and if you have bigger and more complex projects, this could be very tedious. I mean, if you look right here, there are a lot of different elements in the building. So if we want to simplify this process and not have to really search for it in the selection tree, what we can do is go ahead and go to Find Items. And this has all the items in your file. And so in order to select them, we'll go to Category, we'll go to Element, go to Property. I'm sorry, that's the wrong element. Go to Element, go to Property, and we'll go to Name. We'll go to Contains, and it should be, I believe, the 30 by 60 column. Hold on, let me check on that. Round column, solid 18-inch diameter. Okay. Right here, 18-inch diameter. And so we'll go to Find All, and that should select all the columns within the building. All the 18-inch diameter columns in the building. Now that will be too many. We just want the first floor, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to do just the first floor. We'll go to level 1 right here, and we'll go to Find All, and that'll just select the first floor columns. And so in order to save that search, we'll go right here, go to Save Search, and that'll save right here at this search that we just completed. And so we'll also call that Search First Floor Columns. Now if we go here and we hit Hide Unselected, we'll have the same thing happen as we would with just selecting the first floor columns. So let's go ahead and unhide all just to illustrate that point. So when you're going through, this is a very macro level of doing things. For what I mean by that, when you go ahead and do your actual construction, of course you wouldn't build all of these columns at the same time. Now when you run the timeliner, it'll show all these columns coming in at the same time because they'll all be associated with one event in the schedule. And I'm going to show you how that works in just a moment, but then we're going to go over it again, and I'm going to show you how to be a little bit more detailed with your selections and with your timeliner. So what we're going to do, we'll go ahead and hit the timeliner tool, and we're going to go to Data Sources, and this is where you draw your data from for your schedule. We'll hit Add, and as you can see here, there's a comma separated value, CSV. You can do Microsoft Project. You can also do Primavera. These all work with Navisworks to import your schedule into the project. So ours is a CSV. We're going to go here, go ahead and hit CSV Import. Go and double click on Module 5 Schedule 1. And you should have this field selector come up. Now, all this is pairing Navisworks nomenclature to the nomenclature you have in your schedule. And so if we look here, we have our task ID, your type, your title, all the rest of the information that you need for your timeline or your schedule in Navisworks in order to do the 4D scheduling. So let's go back to Navisworks. And we will go to the external field name, and we have to pair this with a few things. So we get a task name, pairs with title, the display ID. We're not going to touch that right now. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go with task ID. The task type will be type. The planned start date will be the expected start. The planned end date will be expected end. Additionally, user 1 will be task ID, and I'll get to why that's important in a little bit. And so we'll hit OK. Synchronization ID field. We'll go with task ID. We'll hit refresh all data sources, and we'll hit OK to rebuild the task hierarchy. Now, if we go here into the tasks, it should have all of the different tasks we had in Excel. And let me expand this for you a little bit. So you can see all the different tasks put together right here. And so what we will want to do when we do the 4D scheduling is attach different search sets to the different tasks. And so if we look at level 1 columns, for example, we can go over here and hit attached, and we can attach the current selection, or the current search really. And this shows you that these columns are now attached to that task within the schedule. Now, additionally, this is a very tedious way of doing things, and we want to do things as quickly as possible. And this will not completely illustrate what I'm getting at, so I'm going to show you how to do it a lot faster. And so what we're going to want to do is go ahead and reformat the schedule here. So we're going to go to custom, and I believe that mine has already been defined with my display ID and user 1. You're going to want to go ahead and add your display ID and your user 1. So you can go ahead to choose columns and then choose them right here. There are different things that you may want to include in your timeline, including your material costs, labor costs, equipment costs, subcontractor costs, and total cost, depending where you are, and depending on how much information you have in your schedule and how much information you have for your estimate. We'll do that later. But I'm going to get into what these mean in just a second. So let's go ahead and save this as, save mine as module 5. And hit save. And let's go back to Revit. And we can go ahead and do something what I'm going to call is 4D tagging. And so what I mean by that, we have our numbers of tasks right here, our task ID. And when we go through and we search for different things, we want to be as quick and efficient as possible. And so rather than looking for, first floor columns, we can assign certain fields to certain elements within the building. So let's go ahead and go back here to Revit, and we'll go to Manage, and we'll go to Shared Parameters. And I believe you will have the 4D task ID already loaded into it. If not, you can add a new group, and you can title it whatever you would like. But the shared parameters makes a parameter for the entire file that's with each one of the elements. And so we're going to go over here to project parameters, and I'm going to explain what this means. If we go to 4D task ID, if you look at the 4D task ID, it is a shared parameter, and it is a common discipline, and it is a text parameter, and it's going to be grouped under construction. And so what that means is we can add text underneath the construction group to add data to this parameter. Parameters are just data for the elements in your building. And so we're going to want to go ahead and check all right here, except for things that wouldn't make sense for a 40 ID, because a 40 ID is just supposed to pair with your schedule. So we'll take off areas, and we'll go ahead and take off rooms as well. And there are a few other things in here, like views, that we don't necessarily need them, but other than that, we'll just hit OK. This is just saying that the 4D task ID will not be associated with the things that we didn't check. We'll hit OK to that, and we'll hit OK again. And if we select right here, and we go underneath construction, we'll see the 4D task ID, which we can insert information into. However, all we want is the first 4 columns. So what we'll do, we'll go to structural plans. Or actually, we can go to floor plans. I'll illustrate this a little bit more. And we can select just like this. We can filter it. And we'll check none. And we'll go to columns. And we'll go to structural. Actually, we'll just go to structural columns and hit OK. And if you look at the 4D task ID, it's asking for a 4D task ID. So what we want to assign to that is, if we look back at our schedule, at schedule 1, let's look at our titles. And so level 1 columns is 120. So let's go ahead and go back here and go to 120 and hit apply. And so the 4D task ID associated with that will be number 120. Let's go ahead and add that to our regular columns as well. These they kind of come together. And we'll hit apply. And number 120 will be associated with the columns hereafter. So let's go ahead and go back and hit export. And we'll go to NWC. And we'll save it again. We'll save it as module 5 file _1. And just hit save. And let's go back to Navisworks. And let's go ahead and get rid of this data source, this schedule. Additionally, we're going to get rid of these sets to just clear things up a little bit. And we'll go over here to our selection tree, and we can't delete this right now because it's the only thing in the model and everything is dependent upon it. However, what we can do is append, and we can go to NWC, and we can go to the file we just made. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what I was talking about. You see, when you don't have the elements like you should have everything in view. It comes out real wacky, as you see here. So let's go ahead, we'll go back to Revit, and we need to go back to the 3D view, and we'll go ahead and export, NWC, and we'll say that it's the same thing. And while it's doing that, we'll go ahead and get rid of this one by just hitting delete. And we'll go back to Revit and see how it's doing. It's getting there. Alright, it should be done. So go into Navisworks and we'll hit append. And we'll go module file 1. And as you can see the entire building now. Now what we're going to want to do, because there's a duplication here, is get rid of the first file. So you can just select it and hit delete. And as we see, we have our model. So let's go back to find items. We'll go to element. And let's see, the value is 120. But we want the property to be 40 task ID contains 120. We'll hit find all. And we'll go here to save selection. We'll call this 120. Now to illustrate the selection, we're going to go ahead and go here. Category, element, 40 task ID equals that should have selected everything, as you can see right here. And we'll save the search set as 120. Sorry for the confusion. And so we should be able to go here and hit the 120. And as you can see, it selected everything that was labeled 120 right here, just like we labeled it in our Revit drawing. Now, unfortunately, well, actually, let me go over here. We go to the timeliner. We'll go to Add, CSV Import, and we'll go to First Schedule, and keep everything the same. Hit OK, and then go to Tasks. And if you look here to Attached, we could go through and we could just attach this search set. But if you had numerous search sets, say 110 through 910 down here, it'd be a little tedious to just go here to attach and then attach the current selection. So instead of doing that, Navisworks has a really cool feature called Rules. And you can attach things based off of the rules rather than by selecting each individual item. So we go to auto attach using rules, and here I believe I made this. Let's go ahead and look at it. You can make rules so that Navisworks reads your search set 120 and attaches it to the item 120. And so here I say it takes test from the column display ID, right here display ID, to selection sets right over here with the same name and matching case. And so this means that if the numbers show up here and it matches a selection set, it will attach to the schedule, to the 4D schedule suite. Okay, and we'll hit apply rules. And as you notice here, the selection set is here. And so we'll go ahead and unhide everything, and we'll select it right here, and it'll hide selected. So as you can see, it's a lot quicker to add everything that way. So let's go ahead and unhide all right now. And I'm going to show you how to get a little bit more detailed with this. So let's go ahead and look at Schedule 2, and we look at the title. And so let's see here. We have the different elements of the wall right here. You have your core, your EIFS, and your interior finish. And so let's break this down. You see 150, 151, and 152. Let's go ahead and break down the walls based off of the different parts of the wall. Because as you know, you're going to want to construct the core of the wall, and then you'll construct the exterior of the walls, and then finally you'll construct the interior walls after the building is waterproof, as to not mess up the interior of the walls. So let's go back to Revit and let's look at our level 1 floor plan. Because as we see it now, if we were to connect something from the building, we would just connect the entire wall. So in order to do this, let's go here and let's select everything, and we'll filter. We'll go to check none. We'll go to walls. We'll hit OK. So we just select the walls, and we'll hit make parts. As you know, we've been over parts earlier in the course, and so let me see, disregard that. So you should have at least a little bit of a working knowledge of parts. And so as you can see, it has each of the different elements of the wall. And so in order to select each one of these parts, we could go through and we could select one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. And it would be extremely tedious and extremely time consuming. Instead of doing that, let's go to Visibility and Graphics, go to Filters, we'll make a filter, let's go Edit and New, and let's go make a new filter and call this Wall Core. Let's make another one. Whoops. Let's go down to Parts. I struggle with this for a little bit, so if you get a little bit confused, I completely understand. And you can filter by the material. Equals, and we're going to want to make this metal stud layer, because that's the core of your wall. And we'll hit apply. Okay, one more time. And so let's just go ahead and make sure we know everything. We're actually going to want to include the sheathing as well. So this is wood sheathing. Actually, no, we don't want to include that. We're going to include that next year. We're going to want this air layer, and we're going to want the exterior insulation, EIFS exterior insulation for the exterior. Just had to check on that. Let's go back to visibility graphics, filters, add, OK, and that'll add the wall core in here. Just go ahead and make a few new ones. Let's go to wall exterior, and we'll hit OK. We'll go down to parts again. And we'll go to filter by material again. And for this, we're going to want to include this. And this is another material equals. Go to this finish system. And we'll go to more equals. And we're going to go with the air barrier. And we really need another one, but that's okay. And we hit apply. And we hit OK. Actually, let's go ahead and edit this one, our wall core, so that should include the sheathing. So let's go ahead and material equals sheathing. Hit apply. Hit OK. We hit add again. We'll go to wall exterior and hit OK. And then we'll make one more for the wall interior. And we'll hit OK. And we'll go to, we'll go to parts. And we'll go to filter by material. And it should equal our gypsum wallboard. And we'll hit apply it one more time and hit OK. And then we'll go to add, we'll go to wall interior and hit OK. Now, this shows us everything that's in the wall. But if we were to go through and we would go to the filters, and let's get rid of the visibility of the wall core, and let's hit of everything except the wall core, so we can hit apply, and hit OK. Let's go ahead and make sure we have everything included in here. Okay. Let's just go to parts. Hit OK. And let's see, why is it doing that? What we could do instead is just go through, go to visibility and graphics, filters, go to visibility on everything except this. And select it part by part. Anyways, if you're to go ahead and do this, you can select every individual element, and then all you would have to do is go ahead and export it into an NWC file as you had before, and then go through and bring your new schedule into Navisworks just like we did before, and then attach the different search sets to the numbers on your schedule as we did previously. I hope this lecture has been informative, and if you have any questions, we can come to me on Monday or on Wednesday and we can discuss them. Thank you very much.